Hey, Erin, welcome to the podcast.
Hi, Melody. I'm so happy to be here. It's so good to see you.
It's so good to see you too. And I love it when my guest is someone that I know and someone that I've hugged and someone that I've seen in person. And you and I, it's fun how we met, right? I feel like we met through Christy Katzman, but we also kind of met because we were both really we love Kathy's content,
Yeah.
Kathy Heller's content. And so it's amazing how and I think my audience is sick of hearing me say this, but I say it all the time. I'm like, look at this beautiful world of social media when used in the right way.
Amen.
Look what it
Mhm.
does. It brings us all together in the most beautiful ways.
So true. And it is a blessing that we've met in person and I've been able to hug you. There's so many people I've connected with online that I haven't met that I feel like I've known my entire life. I mean, it's amazing, right? And that is one of the, I would say, the blessings, the positives that came out of the pandemic was you got creative and how you were going to make connections, meet new people. And yeah, definitely, like you mentioned, when you use it the right way.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So I'm just so glad that we are here together. We saw each other at a retreat in Malibu at the end of, I believe it was July, right? End of July, beginning of August. And
Yeah.
when we got to see each other in person, but we've been connected for a while now. And, you're doing so many amazing things. And I'm so excited to highlight you and share you with our beautiful audience. Um, Tell us how you got to where you are today.
Oh my gosh, it has been a journey and a half.
Isn't it always?
Yes. So my podcasting journey is a fun little story because when I started my show, I didn't even know what a podcast was. So this was 2019. I'm working my corporate job. So we're pre-pandemic. I am traveling. I used to cover 32 states. I was always, on a plane, in a rental car,
What were
in
you doing?
hotels. I was selling software essentially to car dealerships. So I was in the automotive industry.
Mm.
And one day, so I was trying to date, during this time. It was quite difficult because somebody would ask me out on a date and I would say how's 3 weeks from Tuesday? Because that was my schedule, it was just wild. And so one day I get this DM from this woman and she says, "Hey, I really love your content. Have you ever considered creating a podcast?" And I'm like, "No." I was embarrassed, had to ask her, "What is this?" And so she tells me, and I was getting ready to do quite a long drive that day. So I said, "Well, hey, if you'd like to connect by phone, I'm open, to making a friend on the internet." So, so we had a conversation, we really hit it off, and I'm like, "I could give this a shot." And basically, she was starting a company to teach people how to podcast. So she said, "If you want to explore this, we'll show you how to do everything." Well, you know how synchronicities work. So my corporate office says we're going to have a team meeting, and normally it would be in LA, Chicago, New York. No, this time, the Melody, that this time we are going to be in Salt Lake City, and that is where she was living at the time. And so I'm
Wow.
like, perfect. Let's meet up. We met up, hit it off, chatted for a couple hours, and here I am, 3 years later, getting ready to start my season 4 of my podcast. And I've built an entire brand around my show. So my show's Yours Such a Catch. And it's all about falling in love with the woman that you see in the mirror, which is, you know, the most important relationship that we have. And through the podcast journey is how I really discovered that. I mean, it was happening real time for me.
I love this story so much. And, the first piece of it is you were just open. You were like, I was open. I was going to Salt Lake City and I was like, let's meet. I'm cool with meeting a new friend. Like, if nothing else, I've met somebody new, right? That I can connect with. But you were open, you went with it. And look where it brought you. It's brought you to the podcast, but your greater mission, which is so Crazy.
Incredible, right?
I love stories like that. And I love that you said that we need to fall in love with the woman that we see in the mirror. We don't hear this enough. I mean, this is my wish for every young girl, right? Like,
Yeah.
this is what we need. This is how we raise the vibration of women everywhere. So tell me more about that mission because it's a beautiful one.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I was truly like using my own life to basically be an example. And so my season one, I'm having relationship experts come on, I'm having dating coaches, right? And I'm asking them because basically what happened is I sat around the table one night at a happy hour with my girlfriends, and I'm looking around and I'm like, everybody is so incredible. Everybody's beautiful, they're smart, they've got it going on, they've got great jobs, they're doing big things in the world. And we have this common denominator, which was we were single, and I couldn't quite understand it. So I'm thinking that the answer is somewhere outside of myself, right? And I'm like on a mission to crack the code so I can like let my girlfriends know, okay, you need to do this, like all these steps or whatnot, all these things. And so as I'm having these conversations, sometimes I would really feel like the advice was, aligned for me. And then other times I'm thinking, oh no, like, no, 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 no. And then it was somewhere in the midst of like season two, I just have this like Oprah aha moment where I'm like, oh my goodness, like whoever I'm trying to attract, like I need to be that person. And those qualities that I'm looking for, like I need to make sure like I possess them, right? And I need to make sure that I love Erin and like Erin is whole on her own. And so that kind of like sparked this greater thought process, discussion, conversation around personal development and really kind of honing in also like I'm a true believer, like we all have our own experiences in life. We're all going to have our own challenges, our own traumas. And it's about us really wanting to forge ahead and face those things and work through them and understand that they are part of our story. However, they don't define who we are. And so we don't have to take them into these other, situations or whatnot. And so that whole like download just rocked my world and created this pivot. So instead of looking for these answers outside of myself, what dating app should I be on? What should I set my distance at? All these kind of things that don't really matter really, because it's just like anything, it's like you ask somebody, well, what diet works? Well, the one that you're consistent with, the one that you use,
Yes.
right? So that's kind of like what happened here. And it's been such a joy because all that work that you're doing, like you get to keep and take with you. And it's so good. It's so good.
A yummy world. Like, it's such a beautiful world when you step into that vibration where you just like, I love how you drew a line in the sand and you were like, the answers are not outside of me. Like, I could keep searching until I'm 102, but the answers are within. And that is the greatest gift that you can give to any woman. And that's what you're doing. You're teaching them to stop looking on the outside and start looking on the inside. I mean, what's more important than that?
Yeah. No,
Right.
it's been life changing,
It's like,
in all aspects. Yeah.
yeah. And
Mhm.
it's funny, this like personal development world, like, I don't know that I'd be sitting here if I hadn't tapped into it. And like, I wish I tapped into it younger. And it's like what moves me. It's what excites me every morning. It's like, what podcast am I going to listen to today? What am I going to learn about myself today? What am I going to uncover? So it's like the more you uncover, the more you're like, I want more, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, and it's funny too, because when I first started, I was laughing. I was like, pretending I was an onion, right? And I'm peeling back these layers, and some are thick and some are thin. And I'm like laughing. Some are like organic, and then some are like very, very like, kind of like it's been on the shelf too long. And I was thinking, like, eventually we get to this point where it's like, oh, there aren't any more layers to peel off this onion. And I'm like, No, we will be peeling back the layers of this onion for like the rest of our days. I mean,
Yeah.
truly,
I
yeah.
think there are a lot of thought leaders who are so almost there, but like nobody is fully self-actualized. I feel like the work is never done. And that's not a negative. It's actually a positive because there's always room for more. There's always room
Right.
for more. So when I follow you on Instagram, I see so much goodness happening and I'm so excited for you and I'm so cheering you on. What are you most excited about right now?
Oh, so many things. So one of the reasons why I love where we're at in terms of like being a creator is you truly can have a platform in any medium that you want. Like we don't have to wait anymore, right? We can self-publish a book. We can, basically have our own talk show as a podcast host. So I've been working on a reality TV show concept that I'm super stoked about. And what I love about it is there isn't anything out there like it because we aren't seeing the love story of a woman who's later in life, who's in her 40s, looking for love. Like it just isn't on television. And so I've been like pouring my, blood, sweat, tears into this. I love the concept. I love, the message and what it stands for. And I'm just really hoping that I can reach somebody who feels equally as passionate about shining the spotlight on women and, just a little bit of a different angle, like talking about issues that come up like when you're in your 40s. So if you want to have children, that's a big deal. That conversation comes in earlier in dating and relationships, and I don't think that is really shown anywhere, so I'm excited about all those conversations that come with it. I'm just like, put me in, coach.
Oh,
Yeah.
girl, that is amazing. And I
Yeah.
couldn't agree with you more. We don't highlight that enough. Like, we want to be representative of all experiences. And how cool that you had this idea. And even cooler is that you're acting on it, like you're doing the thing. And I know that so many people who are listening are thinking to themselves, like, I have ideas. Like, what do I do with them? How do I get them out into the world? Who am I to do this kind of thing? And like, I'd love them to hear it from you, a woman who's actually out there doing it, putting pen to paper, not stepping into the imposter syndrome, or maybe you do, and then you step away. Tell us your journey on that.
Yeah, it's quite interesting. And I almost wish I would have documented this process a little bit deeper. I have documented it in some ways, and I hope to share that more openly because I think it is important to see, we always see somebody who's made it on top of the mountain, right? Like the book's out in the world, like their, shows been produced and on TV or the movie's been made. And we don't see a lot of that, kind of what's happening in between or what are the steps to get there. So honestly, for me, like I didn't come from this industry. I share that I was in the automotive industry, right? So I didn't really know what to do. And I almost think there's something that's almost great about that because I don't know what I don't know. So it's okay for me to just kind of like go with what my gut and my heart is telling me. Whereas, when I talk to like a girlfriend who's been in the space for a while, she was like, oh no, like you would never do that, Erin. But, she's been conditioned that that's not a path, or a way to forge ahead. And for me, I don't know. So I try it anyways. Right. So, a couple of things that have kept me going is one, remembering my why. So my why is not me. And I had to learn that the hard way because this was a, like a snowball that started and I would have a conversation and then when I had the conversation, a person would say, hey, you need to talk to so-and-so. And I talked to so-and-so and so-and-so would like build that snowball a little bit bigger. Right. And then connect me with someone else. And then that snowball was really moving down the mountain quickly. And I got kind of scared. And some of those thoughts came into my mind, like, whoa, who are you to do this? Why do you, like you were mentioning. And what I had to do is really take a step back and go, you're not doing this for you. You're doing this for every other woman out there who's in her 40s, who wants to be a mother, who wants to be a wife, who's attracting her person, but also understands that she's whole on her own. And, she's a catch, right? Like she's truly a catch. And so that's been keeping me going. But I will tell you, I think there's something magical when you have a ping on your heart, and it, translates to an idea or whatnot, and you just start doing a little bit of motion. It doesn't matter what necessarily, it's just like every day doing something to like move the needle. It's amazing what things come into your path, like the synchronicities that happen, the people that are placed in your life. You'll turn around and there'll literally be somebody right there who is doing or can help you, with what you're working on. And that just is kind of like, affirmation, like, keep going, you're on the right path.
It's so beautiful. It's such a beautiful co-creative process, right? You really gave us such a gift when you just said, like, do it, and someone will show up. The book falls off the shelf. You have the first willingness, the first inkling to take a move in the direction of your heart, and the universe just shows up for you, and then you take a step forward, and then it's this beautiful synchronicity that happens. And and I'm here to also say to you, you put it out there, and I'm putting it out there. If I can support this mission in any way, if I can help, I mean, this is a story for another day. I've been through all sorts of infertility stuff, 11 in vitros. If I can introduce you to anyone who could help, I'm here for it, in case I forget to say it afterwards. So please know that I'm cheering you on. I'm rooting for you. What a beautiful thing that you are putting out there in the world. And when can we expect to see this?
So that's the interesting part. I mean, I had hoped to be actually having it wrapped. Like I had, like I mentioned, the snowball was moving very, very fast and it was very close. And actually Kathy was somebody who was instrumental in suggesting I approach it a different way. And, that was like, ooh, a little bit hard to hear, right? And but I also know that she has my highest and best, and she's kind of going through similar things herself. And so in this pivot, what I've got it all ready to go. I'm just looking for a partner who has the things that maybe I don't know exactly. So I'll put it out there on your show. I've been really reaching out to Drew Barrymore. I feel like Drew would be so aligned with my project. But also open to anybody who would feel like it's aligned with their audience and also their mission. And so that's kind of where I'm at. However, on the note of, we all have access to our own platform now, there's nothing to say that I can't do the first season, like even on a YouTube or like a TikTok, because so many people are consuming, the shorter, content and not going to like a streaming service to do that. So I'm open. I'm open, but the most important thing is that I handle the why and the reason behind it. And I give it as much oomph as I can, because I do think that's something that needs to be out in the world and we need to be shining a spotlight on. Yeah.
I love it. I love it so much. Thank you for sharing your heart on that. And if anyone's listening and wants to support this project, reach out to Erin. Her information will be in the show notes. Beautiful things happen when women come together. And I just believe you're going to find the right partner, and it's going to happen, and it's done. And we're putting it out there.
Yeah.
Right? Amen. Yeah, yeah. So I have a question that I ask all of our guests on the podcast, and I feel like it's so telling. Um, if you could say anything, and if you have more than one thing, by all means, if there's anything you could share with your 8-year-old self, what would that be? And the reason we use the age 8 is because a girl's self-confidence peaks at the age of 9. And so I'm always wondering, what were we telling our 8-year-old selves before that number, before things start to plateau and go down? What is it? What is it that we were noticing about ourselves, and what message would we have for her?
Yeah, I think I would tell her that, she's beautiful and she's unique, and God made her that way for a reason, and to just step into her authenticity because, I think as you're saying this, so much gets lost in those years when you're trying to kind of adapt to how you think you should be and what you should look like and how you should dress and all these things. And I wish I could just tell her, shut out that outside noise and just, hone into who you are, own it, own your curly hair, own your freckles, like own your snort laugh, like it just it's what makes you you. And that's beautiful. And that's why the world is amazing, because we're all unique and different.
It's so gorgeous. I love that so much. And I'm so with you. Wouldn't it be cool? Like, who would we be today if we could have embraced those things at age 8 and 9 and beyond? But it's okay, because we have access to that now, and we can shout this information off of the rooftops on podcasts and on social
Yes.
media platforms and things like that. And that's what we get to do. So thank you for that. And another question I love to ask is, if you could take a billboard out onto the world for all to see, and I feel like our messages change, right? Through different phases of our lives, we might have different billboards to share, but what would yours say today?
Mm. Um, One thing that I've been very passionate about lately is like how we talk to ourselves, which kind of lends itself to what I just kind of shared. So my girlfriend told me this story. I don't know if you've heard this before, about a science experiment with rice. Have you heard of this?
I've heard about the one with apples. I don't know this one. So
Okay,
please share.
maybe it's similar. So she made rice and put it into two separate jars, and one of them she labeled love, and the other one she labeled, a negative, word like hate or whatnot. And she monitored it, and the rice was, subject to the same surroundings. So her children, day-to-day activity, it was both sitting in the kitchen. And what she noticed was the rice that was labeled love remained, white, fresh, all the things. The rice that was labeled in the jar with a negative connotation, hate or whatnot, began to mold. And it didn't matter the longevity. The one labeled love remained the same, and the one with the negative, continued to mold and get gunky. And once I learned that story, I mean, on this personal development journey, I've learned a lot about different things, but that layman's terms little science experiment that I would like to try in my own kitchen really resonated with me, because sometimes I think we talk to ourselves differently than we would to a friend, and talk about that confidence piece and just, owning who we are and being authentic. And so now when thoughts come into my head, I think to myself, all right, what are you doing to the rice, Erin? Are you talking to the rice? Like, is it in the love jar or is it in the hate jar? And so I think once you share that message, and if I could put that on a billboard, I think it just resonates so easily. And it's just this like reminder, we want to be talking to ourselves in that way so that we keep our rice, in its purest form. And, we can set aside the hate. Yeah.
That's so great. What a beautiful illustration, literally. Like, we get to visualize that rice. And we get to remember when we're not being kind to ourselves, like, what are we actually doing, right? What are we doing to our insides? What are we doing to our heart? I did a similar experiment with my daughters many, many years ago, before the days where they would have made fun of me for doing such a thing. They were young enough. And we took an apple and we sliced it in half. And one of the apples we spoke to with love, and we said nice things to the apple, and we showed kindness to the apple, and the other apple we were mean to. We were like saying hateful things, which we wouldn't usually say, but for the sake of the experiment, we went for it. And the one with the hateful words that were spoken to it browned much quicker than the other one. And it's like, you can't deny these things, right? Like when you see them for yourself, you can't deny that there's an energy to our words and to our energy, and that it's contagious. So I love that you reminded me of that story. I'm going to try it with the rice. I might not do it with my daughters because they're 16 now and they might be like, Mom, but I know they know. I know they know. So that's beautiful. You're beautiful. I so appreciate everything you're sharing with the world. It's like medicine. It really, really is. And I'm so grateful that we get to share you and your story. And I feel like we didn't have enough time to chat because I know we're both on a bit of a schedule today, but we're going to do this again. I'd really love to do this again. But I think we've left the audience with so, so much. Let them know how they can connect with you, your podcast, all the good things you have coming up, where they can get direct access to you.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Melody, for having me today. It's always a pleasure, and I just adore you. So thank you, thank you, thank you. You can find me at You're Such a Catch. So it's YOURE, Such a Catch. I'm most active on Instagram. And that's, I'm working on my TikTok. I need to I need to step up my TikTok game, but on Instagram you can find me and send me a DM. Let me know if you try the rice thing. I'm so curious, and I want to do it for myself. But I hope that resonates and helps at least one person out there.
Oh my goodness. I know that it will help so many more. And I'm so grateful. Again, thank you, Erin.
Oh, thank you.